Have you heard of American football? It's super fun to watch. So, along with this big sort of strategic overarching view, my personal view of the world, what I want the world to be in marketing, I also want to talk about some specific tactics, ways that you can do things, actionable ways you can do things on your own websites that will move the needle. It was freezing in here before, and now it's like, it must be our body heat. I don't know what's going on. So, you have likely seen a lot of things like this, right? So 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. This album must be quite good because so many people have purchased it. This principle is called social proof. And in fact, it is highly effective on the web as well. You can see Box, I'm using Box.com here as an example, right? Saying 92% of Fortune 500s use Box. The interesting thing about social proof is that the closer social proof gets to the audience you're trying to reach, right? So the more reflective the Fortune 500s or the message of who's using it is, the more effective that social proof phenomenon becomes. So if you say, they like us, you should too, the they better be someone who's like me. That's how this principle works most effectively. We talked about naming conventions, right, our landfill story. So Get Satisfaction does something really fun here and really interesting, which is quite smart and has been shown, in fact, in case studies. You can see some of the links to case studies at the bottom of my slides when you download them. Get Satisfaction has this great system where they actually say, rather than, I'm sure you've seen lots of pricing plans that are this, bronze, silver, gold, platinum, right? Little, big, little, medium, big. Instead, if you opt for aspirational naming conventions that reflect who the audience is, right? Start, grow, connect, enterprise. If you are a big company, Start is definitely not for you. Silver might be for you. Silver doesn't say anything about who you are, but this naming convention actually dramatically alters user behavior and has a both higher conversion rate, at least in the Get Satisfaction study, and means that more people were buying the higher packages, the larger packages, the more appropriate packages for them. Pretty smart. Aspirational naming converts better. We don't have a ton of time, but I do want to tell you a quick story. So, in the United States, we all get this 9-digit number. It's called a social security number. Do you have something like that? I'm sure you have something like that in Ireland, yeah? What's it called? PPS. PPS. PPS, okay, PPS. How many digits is it? 7? No one knows. It's amazing. You guys don't have to memorize this till I put it on forms or anything. 8, it's 8, all right. 7? All right, well, we're going to go back to social security numbers. So, in the US, we have these social security numbers, right? And the last 2 digits of my social security number are 98. You can write that down and tweet it. It'll be great. Don't do that. But there's an interesting study that I absolutely love, which is a bunch of researchers asked people like yourselves to come into a college university room, and they had candy bars. And they asked people to do 2 things. Number one, when they sat down, they gave them a little piece of paper and a pencil, and they said, please write down the last 2 digits of your social security number. Right? So I would write down 98. And then they asked, now below that, please write down how much in dollars, US dollars, you would be willing to pay for this candy bar right now. So people would write that down. And then they examined the data, and they did this with all sorts of groups of people, students, senior citizens, professionals. And you know what they found? Universally, the people with larger social security numbers, the last 2 digits were larger numbers, were willing to pay more, dramatically more, right? From like 60 cents up to $1.20 for people who had those 80 plus. You know what this means? This means the US government knows at birth exactly who the suckers are. That is incredible data analysis. No, I'm kidding. That's not. No, what this is saying is that numbers anchor us. Psychologically, those numbers that you wrote down on your piece of paper are in your head, whether you realize it or not, and they are anchoring the price you are willing to pay. My number is 9.8, therefore I'm probably willing to pay, and the fact that I have all this guilt about being Jewish, and so I like to overpay for everything. But beyond that, those numbers are setting an anchoring phenomenon, and price anchoring is a very powerful phenomenon. So powerful, in fact, that the folks at Grasshopper here did something really interesting. I'm not sure, can you guys see on there what's going on? So I want to first show, let's go back for a sec to the get satisfaction. So start $19 a month, grow $49 a month, connect 99, enterprise, contact us. Grasshopper, max $199, grow 49, ramp 24, pay as you grow 12. You see what's going on there? We read from left to right. They're price anchoring us with $199. Now the $49 a month package seems cheap in comparison, right? Same principle as the researchers using the Social Security number. 19, now 99 seems high. 199, now 49 seems low. You can repeat this experiment all over the place, and it works every time. That numerical anchoring makes bigger prices more palatable to people. By the way, if you would like to read more, I highly recommend. There's some very good articles on restaurant menu pricing and how they're done, and how they price set. So, for example, when you read the appetizer list, if those numbers are higher, you will think that the entrees are more affordable. Fascinating. Be warned when you go out to eat tonight. All right. Limit choice. Another powerful, so we have this thing that I'm sure you're aware of. It's called the paradox of choice. And I like to frame it as the psychology of never go to the supermarket when you are hungry. It's horrifying, right? First off, it will cause breakups, divorces, just all sorts of nasty things. It's a terrible, terrible idea. Likewise, if you're on the East Coast of the United States, you should never go to a Greek diner when you need to figure out what you want quickly, because there's pages and pages and pages of menus on them. Like I don't know what it is, but Greek cooks can cook anything, and they feel like they have to list it all, and so it's impossible to choose. Do I want the spaghetti? Yeah, maybe I want the tzatziki. I can't decide. The paradox of choice is a powerful psychological force, and a problematic one at that. When you ask people, do you want more choices or fewer? We will all say, more choice. I want more choice. And we're all wrong. We don't actually want more choice. In fact, it makes it harder for us. You can see this in action on the web all the time, right? So here's an article from Social Media Examiner, I think it is. And there you go. So I could tweet this, like it, send it, LinkedIn, share it, Google +1 it, stumble upon it, buffer it, pin it, tweet it, LinkedIn, share it, like it, send it, Google it, pin it. I just can't decide, man. I don't know which one to do. I'm overwhelmed. I think I'm just going to leave. I'm going to go back to Reddit, where I feel safe. Let me show you how this is done phenomenally well by another blog. This one, the OkCupid blog, OK Trends. So OK Trends, first off, is a genius blog. Anyone here read OkCupid, the OK Trends blog? No, because you all have amazing Irish accents, and you can find anyone you want with no problem. You don't need to go online dating. I forgot about that. Have you ever tried dating someone in the US? If you just open your mouth at a bar, everyone of the opposite gender will swarm you. I've seen it. I've seen Irish marketers come to Seattle, and then it's just whoom. It's amazing. You should try it next time you're feeling a little lonely, bad about yourself. So I'm gonna read this piece, right? I'm scrolling. Do you see that? Do you see what happened at the end? As soon as I got to the bottom of the article, the very bottom, I finished reading this piece, boom, now they're going to drop down a like us on Facebook. Just one sharing option, and they only ask at the right time when they know I have finished the piece. Did I like it? Well, yes, I liked it. I just read 7 pages about charts about sex because it's fascinating. Right? They have all this data about who has sex with whom and who's actually more promiscuous than whom and why and what. It's fascinating, right? And it's all based on the big data of the millions of members that they've got on the site. It's genius. Scroll down, show it, one option. One option, so smart. Fewer choices leads to more actions. And they tested this relentlessly. They tested with all sorts of variations. They had a Twitter and a Facebook button up there for a while. They had a like and a share button up there for a while. They found that the highest ROI they got was from one option. I'm not saying cut out all your social sharing buttons, but for goodness sake, test it. Please test it. You know you're going to get value. This principle applies, since we were focusing on conversion rate optimization pages. Ring Central has this great case study on Omniture's website, now Adobe's website, where they had four pricing plans, $9.99, $24.99, $44.99, and $79.99. Great, more choice, better. No, we know more choice, bad. In fact, these prices are lower. There's four of them. And they took away the $24.99 package, turned the $9.99 package into the $50 package, and now they have $49.99, $99.99, and $179.99. And guess what? Conversion up. More people at higher prices because there's less choice. It is completely unintuitive until you understand behavioral psychology and how the human mind operates, and then you're like, yep, I totally know that's going to work. Definitely worth testing. All right. How many of you have visited a hotel and seen a sign like this? I'm sure many of you, right? That, oh, to help conserve water and energy, please do your best to reuse your towel. These don't work too well. They work like a third of the time, right? About 30% of people are reusing their towel, which is great, right? This costs the hotel a lot of money. And it's not great for the environment, right? At home, I mean, I shower at least 4 or 5 times before I wash my towel. I'm clean when I come out of the shower, I hope. So why would the towel be all that dirty? Let's try a test. Do you think this will work better or this one? Just thought you ought to know. 75% of people who stayed in this room, 1119, reuse their towel. This works so much better. Oh my God, does this work better? Because you have a ton in common with other people who stayed in that room, right? You and the 7 other guests who stayed in 1119, you guys are all very similar, and you want to be like them. I'm trying to show that this psychology is not a conscious thing. It's not in our minds, and we're like, oh yeah, I don't want to be like those other people. It's not a reflective impulse. It's an automatic impulse. And that automatic impulse is so powerful that this is about a third better, right? About 30% better. 37.2% do it with a normal sign, with a regular sign that see it. Almost 50%, right, which is a bump of about 1/3, about 13%, when they see a specific sign for their room. Lesson being, I want to do what people like me do, especially people who share my traits. This is social proof in a very specific sort of action. The more relevant that data is, the better it nudges decisions. And Google and Bing know this well. Here's Google and here's Bing using all sorts of data about, this got 4 stars and here's how many people liked it and +1 did, to try and get you to click. Now, of course, if you're in the SEO business, you want to make sure that you have A, lots of those stars, and B, that your listing is appropriately marked up to be able to appear like this. That more relevant decision, data is going to nudge decisions. In fact, in both Bing and Google, they're now doing this thing where they'll show you which of your friends that you're connected to via either Google Plus or Facebook, if it's Bing or whatever, have decided to do that. Pretty incredible. So the Obama campaign, I think someone here from the Obama campaign is going to be speaking a little bit later. Is that correct? Yeah. So they do a bunch of really cool stuff, and sometimes they share it on the internet, which is super awesome. So in this case, they're sharing 2 examples, a control in which they had a normal sort of payment donation page, right? You fill out your name and information, you fill out how much you'd like to give them, you fill out your credit card, and then you put in your name and email address, and then you hit submit, and you make that donation. Great, perfect, except it didn't actually work nearly as well as when they did something very non-intuitive, which was to split it up into 4 different steps. 1 step where you choose how much you're going to give, 1 step where you enter your name and information, 1 step where you enter your credit card, and then a final submit page. This seems crazy, Why would you split it up? You know it's going to take me longer to fill that out. I mean, longer is worse, right? Longer is lower conversions. No, in fact, this led to 5% extra conversions, which, by the way, doesn't seem like a ton until you realize that in order to win a US election, you need, according to the last election, $1 billion, $1 billion just to, it's expensive to buy a presidency in the United States. It's just, we're corrupt, but we know we're corrupt, and we just run off a corrupt system, and it sort of works for us as long as we know it is. People like this quick and easy system. If you've ever bought something on Amazon over the holidays, you know that it's like, oh yeah, I gotta enter my aunt's address and ship this one to her, and then enter my daughter, and then send that one to her, and right? It's step after step after step, and yet they know you don't give up on one step. You give up when you have a long, long page. Splitting this up actually makes more sense.